Good morning. Welcome. Happy 4th of July. I'm Michael Putney.
I'm Glenna Milberg. We have a special edition of This Week in South Florida this hour for you. The race against time at the site of the Surfside building collapse. This, in fact, is a live look at the remains of the building now being prepped for demolition. The
search and rescue work stopped down again late yesterday to allow demolition teams to plant the explosives that are going to bring down that unstable remaining tower.
The daily briefings at the site all week, they've now moved to Miami-Dade's Emergency Operations Center in Doral. That is in preparation for whatever the effects of Elsa come our way. You're looking live at the podium. We are standing by for that. And of course, we will bring it for you as soon as it happens.
Meanwhile, in Surfside at this moment, there is an eerie quiet that has settled down over this 10-block site that has been the focus of round-the-clock search and rescue missions since the morning of June 24th.
The decision to bring down the remains of the building ramped up quickly over the last 24 hours. Surfside Mayor Charles Burkett is right there on site, as he has been every day, and joining us now live. Mayor, good morning.
Mayor Burkett, good morning. You can hear us, I hope?
Well, these trucks are making a little noisy, but I'm going to do my best.
Okay, it is kind of noisy out there. We hope we can get your volume increased so you can hear us.
I can make do.
Okay, good. Mayor Burkett, we know that Assistant Miami-Dade Chief Ray Jadala, whom you have praised this week, really an outstanding public service, briefed the families this morning and said that the remaining tower there probably is going to come down late tonight. Is that correct, and are you good with that?
Well, actually, I'm more than good with it. I had met a couple days ago with Governor DeSantis in a private meeting to talk just about that. I mean, the hurricane was the trigger that got everybody talking about immediately taking the building down, but it really needed to come down because it was impinging upon the effort to rescue everybody in that pile of debris, because the western edge of that pile was a no-go zone because there was debris falling off the building. So now with the building being demolished, that's a relief. There was talk about doing it in a matter of weeks. I urged Mayor Cava to do it in a matter of hours. The governor had the same position. And I'm very grateful to the mayor that she took another hard look at all the facts and all the information and made the decision to move forward immediately, because we could not risk the storm knocking the building down on top of the debris pile, nor could we wait any longer to do search and rescue over on that western edge of the pile.
Mayor, we midweek, to your point, the midweek, Mayor Daniela Livian Cava, Miami-Dade's mayor, talked about the initial thought to demolish the building, the initial discussions, and said, as you mentioned, that it would take weeks because demolition is a really highly technical, highly dangerous process. Take us through how all of a sudden you had the ability to do it within hours. CDI, the company, the expert hired, has done this before, both locally, Pentagon after 9/11, and take us through kind of the technicalities of how it got to be ramped up so quickly, how it's going to be done safely, especially for the streets. That's a very tight space on Collins around that. Take us through that whole technical process, and what's your best guess on timing?
Well, listen, I try to always keep it simple. The bottom line is you're going to strap some explosives on the columns and you're going to blow them up and knock the building down. That doesn't take a long time. It just takes the time it takes to strap the explosives on. Obviously, they don't strap it, they drill holes into the columns. But, the time-consuming part of a demolition is normally the paperwork. It's the inspections, it's the verifications that no one's in there. It's the asbestos tests. Fortunately, our forward-looking administration here in Surfside had already done an environmental survey on the debris and got a green light on the contents of the debris, I'm told. So that's one less thing to worry about. But the bottom line is I salute Mayor Cava's decisive action to change course and get this thing done as the governor had wanted and I had wanted, because we can't afford any more lost time in the effort to pull these people out of the rubble and reunite them with their families.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, one more question here about the implosion here at this tower. Chief Alan Kaminsky, Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, says he wants a narrow footprint. I take it that what you are looking for is to bring this building down within its own footprint so that it does not impinge upon the pile or make the work of rescue harder. Is that right?
Well, actually, I'm looking to bring it down with a westward push. So it falls away from the existing pile, not next to it, because anything falling next to the existing pile is going to, of course, disturb the existing pile. So I think the push is to ensure that it falls westward and doesn't affect the existing pile, because there are people in there presumably waiting to get out, and we're going to get in there and get them all out.
All right, so I guess then, are you going to bring it down partly on Collins Avenue there, because that part fronts Collins Avenue?
That's not a concern. We're going to bring it down, and it's going to go where it's going to go, and it's going to go in a westward motion, and we're going to get back to work. Nothing else matters.
Mayor, we're going to stick with us. We're going to come back to you. I know that there is some talk about finding additional voids when that building comes down. Right now, the briefing at the Doral location of the emergency management is about to begin. So if you would just sit tight, we want to dip into that for the latest.
All right, as you can see, the officials are lining up here at the EOC. We see Governor Ron DeSantis.
Good morning and welcome
there,
to the 11:30 operational media briefing.
and they will be introduced here momentarily.
Open up, we have Governor Ron DeSantis.
We'll wish everybody a happy 4th of July. I want to thank the mayor for hosting us here at the county EOC. Also want to thank Wilton Simpson and Chris Sprouse, our legislative leaders in the House and Senate, for coming. We are going to be able to take them to the site later today to be able to see that, and they've been very helpful in supporting everything the state's doing. We are, of course, continuing to monitor Tropical Storm Elsa. It's located just north of Jamaica with the maximum sustained winds of 65 miles per hour. It is heading towards Cuba. It will cross Cuba and end up approaching Florida, likely sometime Monday afternoon or evening. Tropical storm watches are in effect for parts of the Florida Keys, but more watches and warnings may be issued later today. Impacts will move northward up the peninsula, into northeast Florida, the Big Bend, through Wednesday morning. It looks like it's going to be in the Gulf Coast, in southwest Florida, into Tampa Bay, and then probably enter around Pasco County area, which is where Senator Simpson is from. But obviously these tracks can change, but that's what we're looking at now, something that will ride part of the West Coast and then enter the peninsula later in the week. Impacts, please review your hurricane plans now and restock your emergency kit as needed. We are looking at, of course, storm surge. We're looking at heavy rainfall, flash flooding. There could be isolated tornadoes. And it's important to remind Floridians, in the last 4 years, we've had more people die from carbon monoxide poisoning than from direct impacts from the storms that we've dealt with, and we've dealt with a number of them. So the reminder is, in a storm like this where you could see sustained power outages, if you do have a generator, you have to operate that generator so that the exhaust is outside. You can't put it inside your house. You can't.
We are listening to Governor Ron DeSantis at the morning briefing, starting off, of course, with the, he's already declared a state of emergency in many counties, not in our viewing area, but for the effects of Elsa. So the governor now with a dual role, talking about the latest from the Surfside building collapse and the impending demolition, and of course, a storm headed our way, tropical storm expected, but prepping for hurricane if need be in many parts of southwest Florida. Let's go back to Mayor Charles Burkett of Surfside, who is graciously standing by with us at the site of the impending demolition. Mayor, one more question about the demolition. You've been with the families a lot. I know for them, watching the remains of that building come down is going to be fairly gut-wrenching. Are they supportive of this idea? Have they weighed in at all with you?
I think the families are supportive. Anything that we can do that will enhance our ability to find and extract victims is a good thing. And that building has been an impingement on that effort. And now that that building is going to be gone, that hindrance is going to be out of our way.
Mr. Mayor, you have been consistently optimistic. You have encouraged the fact that this is still a rescue operation. But here we are, I believe, day 11 since the building collapsed. Do you still hold out hope that there may be a survivor or two or more?
It looks like we have some technical issues, as we sometimes do on live television. It looks like it might be a battery issue. So let's take a quick break. Let's change some batteries, and we'll be right back with the mayor. Stay tuned.
We are speaking with Mayor Charles Burkett of Surfside, who is at the site. You can hear construction machinery behind him. Mr. Mayor, can you hear us now okay?
Yep, I'm good.
Yeah, well, let me repeat the question I was going to ask. From the very moment that this tragedy occurred, you have been consistent. You've been very supportive of the families of the victims, and you have said we are holding out hope that there may be survivors in the rubble that we will recover. Do you still believe that?
We're not going to leave anyone to die in that rubble. We're going to pull everybody out.
Mayor, we've been together out there. You've been out there every day. We have been too. There's a question, I'm going to take it sort of in a different direction, because it's a question I've really been meaning to ask you with the time and space to really hear the answer to. Now in hindsight that we have over the past week, it is horrifying what is in the city's records about this building. The engineer, just for people, just to refresh your memory, the engineer in 2018 for the building laid bare some structural issues, warned that they needed to be fixed. The condo knew it, the city knew it, the condo association and its lawyers knew it. It went unfixed until this year, the beginnings of it. In hindsight, and now with some clarity, where does the buck lie? Who has the ultimate oversight to levy consequences and get life safety issues fixed?
Well, let me start by saying buildings in America like this do not fall down. They just don't fall down. That's a third world phenomenon, not a first world phenomenon. And it's unbelievable that any building, irrespective of the maintenance that was done on it, could ever fall down like this. There was something very, very, very wrong. Having said that, this condominium association was aware that there were issues with respect to the structural components. There were prescriptions to repair those issues. 3 years later, I believe they engaged with the town, and the town was engaging in a conversation with them. There had not been, as the building official advised me recently, an official permit submitted to be considered for approval. What was submitted was a letter discussing what they intended to do and how the city felt about what they were going to do. So it was a dialogue that they were having in writing. And, listen, in Surfside, we've had complaints. We're a small town, and it takes us some time to process paperwork. I mean, people wait 2 or 3 weeks for a driveway. People wait 2 or 3 weeks for a roof. I understand that this was somewhat over a month before the town official got back to them, but I don't want to speculate on those dates or why it was that amount of time. I think the building official would be the one to answer those specific questions, but suffice to say, no matter what maintenance was not done on that building, one would never imagine in his wildest dreams that you could have a collapse like that. So, there was something very, very, very wrong with this property, and we're going to have to get to the bottom of that, and we intend to get to the bottom of that, but not today, not tomorrow, not in the indefinite future, because right now I'm 100% focused on pulling people out of that rubble and supporting the families.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, as you well know, in 2018, The condo association in the Champlain Towers South hired Morabito engineers to come in. They prepared this report, and the report said that the building had serious structural problems. That report was sent to the town building official, Mr. Ross Prieto. You were not the mayor at the time, so you don't have any oversight. And as the mayor, you can't order city employees around anyway. Mr. Prieto, however, went to a meeting of the condo association, told that condo association that their building was in very good shape. Was that an act of malfeasance?
That's given what we know right now, that's a serious problem.
You know, many people don't know that besides mayor, you by profession are a developer and a landlord. So you do have some pretty special insights into the whole process of inspection and codes. I wonder if you would give us take off your mayor hat for a moment, put on your developer/landlord hat, because you have properties that, like so many, have been cited and have had issues. Are people overreacting now based on this terrifying occurrence? Or has this terrifying occurrence laid bare what we should have been looking at all along, or somewhere in between?
Well, listen, to be fair, you know, everything in life needs maintenance, and properties need maintenance, cars need maintenance, and we do maintenance. Sometimes it's proactive and sometimes it's reactive. Sometimes you get a violation for peeling paint or a balcony that's cracked or something along those lines. And the best course of action is to act expeditiously. You know, when you have a problem, you fix it. It's those times where you ignore the problem for a long period of time. It's sort of like, it's never the crime, it's always the cover-up. So, you know, that's kind of what seems to be appearing to have been going on here. There were mixed messages and probably starts and stops. And I think that, you know, we have the #1 government agency here, NIST, which is the sort of NTSB of buildings. And after plane crashes, the NTSB goes out, and after building problems and collapses and things of this sort, NIST goes out. So they're on it, they're looking at it, our experts are looking at it. We're actually analyzing the steel content in the sister building right now, or not right now, probably in the next several days. We're going through a process where we're trying to determine if the conditions that existed in the building that collapsed exist in the sister building.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge, and we're doing that, and we're taking that very seriously. And I must give the board credit in the Champlain North. They've been cooperative and helpful up to this point, and I hope they will continue to do that along the way and throughout the process.
Mayor Charles Burkett, we certainly appreciate your time this morning. We know that you have been on that site early to late for the last 11 days, and it's going to be a long process ahead. Thanks very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, next among the international teams that joined the search and rescue effort, there was a crew from Israel that brought special technical expertise.
That team, as we speak, is on the way home, but not before we talk to the commander live from the airport. Stay tuned.
Prominent among the search and rescue teams at the Champlain Towers South this week was a team from Israel.
Their work and expertise also involved digital mapping of the building that gave first responders on that mountain of debris a precise road map to each apartment. The leader of that 15-member team is Colonel Golan Vach of the Israeli Defense Forces, and he is right there, looks like at Miami International Airport, waiting to leave. And Colonel, we so appreciate your time with us today.
Thank you.
Colonel, just
We are not leaving. Yeah.
Good
Oh,
afternoon.
okay. That's good. That's good to hear. We were told by Tamar, who is your colleague, that today would likely be your departure date. So you're staying, and what's the
No.
function?
Okay. So we're staying till Thursday. I personally, with another 7 experts, will stay here in order to support the current situation and that have been updated after the decision to take the building down. So tomorrow we send our technicians back to Israel, because right now we see there is no need of support. There are dozens of experts all over the United States that arrived the day before yesterday, and we do not feel that they are no more necessary. But we are the professional intelligence engineering leaders of this group will stay till Thursday.
Yeah. Colonel Vach, we know that your team is world renowned. You've been to Albania, Turkey, Haiti. I heard you speak about pulling a survivor out of rubble in Haiti who had been, trapped for a very, very long time. Do you believe that it's possible there still may be somebody alive in the collapsed tower there in Surfside?
I believe right now that the chances are close to zero, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We found people in Haiti after 1 week, and we found people in Haiti, not us, but other teams after 27 days. But the circumstances, as we saw the last few days, are too difficult for me to say professionally that I believe that there is a solid chance to find somebody alive,
Colonel,
unfortunately.
you are very direct, and I know you and your team have been very direct with the families. I wonder if you could share, if you are talking to them about that realistic observation and how they are hearing that.
Yes, we are talking only to the families. We are talking with the families. We are with the families since day one. And we are going through this difficult process hand by hand with them. And we are trying to be hopeful, but realistic at the same time. We talk to them Shabbat night, Saturday night with dozens of the families, and we will see, I'll hope, all of them, most of them, to share our work on site, our perspective of the process, professional process that we're doing right now, and the chances. And we share our thoughts and our observation about the chances.
And I suspect that the fact that for some of the survivors, the families whom you were speaking to, that you were speaking in Hebrew is another fact, I think, that gave them some comfort. I pray that it did. Did it?
We talk in English.
In English.
And because yes, because we arrived not only to the Jewish families, we arrived to all families, and I want them to know that most of the people that I personally pulled out, extracted from the pile were not Jewish, and I assume that I know that our recommendations about how to do the job will not consider any nation. We are all here for the families. Families are one, and we with them are one.
Of course, and actually, it's worth noting that a lot of those all of the family meetings are done bilingually in English and in Spanish as well. There was a huge Latin American contingent that lived in that building as well. Colonel, we have some video of the digital, I'm calling it digital satellite imagery, please correct me if it's something else, that your team did for the families to take them through how precise you're able to gauge where the apartments are in the debris, and to give the teams a really precise location so they know where they are and what and who they're looking for. I'm hoping that we have, for our viewers, that picture to show. take us through how technically you've done that.
So I must say in the beginning that we are here, 15 people, but the whole country of Israel is behind us, whole IDF, all the capabilities of Home Front Command. Here, right now, there are more than 50 people, analysts and IT experts that are working for us, trying to do what we cannot do here on the ground. We succeeded with the people here from the Task Force 1 and 2, with Danny Cordeso, the chief of this operation, with Chief Kaminsky. We have together agreed about the methodology, how to position, how to mark each one of the missing people on GIS layers, 2D and 3D. We can say by 10 to 15 meters exactly where each one of the missing people are being right now. And we proved it. At the last few days, we pointed on the places and we dig there and we found people. And this is the way that this methodology is going.
Yeah. Well, the expertise that you and your team have brought is very impressive, and everybody is grateful that you and this team of 50 people are here. But let me ask you, Colonel Vach, about your men, you and your other men who were up on that pile working. I mean, I can't imagine the conditions. The footing is treacherous. There's rebar sticking up. There is rain pelting down on you. I mean, this is very, very hard work. Talk to us a little about what it is to do this work.
It's not us, it's we. As all your great commanders said, it's Scott Dean, it's Fernandez, it's Chris. We are all in this difficult situation. Although I've been in many operations, this situation is not easy. But it's us, it's not we. We are going through this difficult time together. We talk every night, we summarize. Sometimes we cry, it's natural, but we are tough guys. This is our job and we will do it as best as we can.
Colonel, in the short time we have left together, you mentioned that your decision to stay based on the impending demolition, the 7 people from your team that will be staying this week. What specifically will you be doing? What is the role of the Israeli team in the demolition?
We are going to represent our way of thinking right now after the building is down, how to reevaluate the situation according to the fact that we could be able to reach all the people that we couldn't reach them at the last week because of the dangers. And according to what happened before, when we found some people to update the plan. So our current position will be, I hope, to offer our thoughts, our lessons, our kind of thinking about how to reach each one of the missing people as fast as we can.
Yeah. Colonel Vach, I just want to say on a personal note, I was speaking to one of my best friends who is Israeli. We were speaking, he's in Tel Aviv, and he was saying how proud he and Israel is that you have come here and done this work. So you are thanked both from your Israeli friends and from your American friends. Thank you so much.
Colonel, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back with an update on the Surfside collapse.
This is a live look right now at the press conference going on as we speak at Miami-Dade's Emergency Operations Center. The man at the podium there is Florida's Director of Emergency Management, Kevin Guthrie. So far, all the speakers, the governor, everyone who spoke, is talking about Elsa. So weather right now is their focus. As far as news from the collapse, the death toll does remain at 24 people. They do say they have notified all the next of kin of those people who were recovered. The number of missing remains at 121.
And Miami-Dade Mayor Daniela Levine Cava has said that the building will come down as soon as crews are ready and the site is secure. She did not confirm that that is going to happen tonight, as the families were told this morning. Search and rescue efforts remain on pause as the crews prepare to plant the explosives to demolish what is left of the Champlain Towers South. This Week in South Florida, we'll be back after a break. The collapse of the Champlain Towers South laid bare the need for more oversight into aging buildings in South Florida.
That fresh oversight led to a sudden evacuation of a condominium in North Miami Beach late this week. A lot of questions about that for attorney Mariel Tollinchi, who represents the condo association at the now empty Crestview Towers. Mariel, good to be with you today.
It's a pleasure being with you as well, Glenna.
Let's start with just a really obvious question. What we have learned in the days since the sudden evacuation, I might say, of some 300 people from Crestview. The report from the engineer saying that this was a structurally unsafe and electrically unsafe building to live in came because of this audit post-collapse in Surfside. And all of a sudden, the city gets what is a 6-month-old warning and evacuates and leaves the rest of us to say, what the heck?
Yes. Well, did you want me to opine as to the report or just give you my opinion on the sudden evacuation?
I guess my question is, this is just too familiar. Why is there an engineer's report saying the building is unsafe and for 6 months people had been living in it and would still had a Surfside condominium building not collapsed?
I'd like to first mention that a subsequent inspection was had of the building recently, and an unofficial report was released by that engineer saying that the building is actually safe for occupancy and that the repairs on the structure and electrical can be done with the residents there. So the formal report should be released by Tuesday morning or before that.
Okay, let's get that's good to hear, but let's get a little technical. When was that written? When was that report? When was that made public?
The one that I just mentioned now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's yet to be made public. It's going to be made public by Tuesday when it's given to the city.
When was it done?
That was done on Saturday, so yesterday.
So we still have a 6-month time frame, and this is the key. Whether or not the building is unsafe to live in, somebody says yes, you're saying maybe not. I think the bigger question is there was a report from a structural engineer that said it was, and for 6 months people lived there, and that's terrifying now.
The report that was generated in January of 2021, as I mentioned previously, is a very vague report. I'm not sure if you have a copy of it, but it does mention cracks. It mentions some electrical issues, but it doesn't go in depth. That was a report that should have been submitted by the architect, since the architect was in communication with the city consistently asking for extensions. The board was under the impression that this report was also going to be submitted by the architect. The board has, for the past 2 years, up until last Thursday, been working on repairs endlessly and around the clock, not just structurally and electrical, but working together with the fire marshal to make sure that the building's up to code. There are just certain things with respect to this building in particular. The building is quite old, and it's a grandfathered building, which means that any repairs that are done have to be done with original parts. So, given COVID and the fact that the parts needed to be original, there have been some delays in getting certain things repaired.
Yeah. Mariel, from what you have said, do you think the city of North Miami Beach acted precipitously by saying, hey, everybody in this building, you've got to leave now. And, 300 people trekked off into the night, some of them really without a place to go.
I believe that in the wake of Surfside, North Miami, the city of North Miami acted in what they felt was the best interest of the community and the residents in an abundance of caution. So other than that, I don't really have much of an opinion as to their actions, but we can assure the residents in the community that the board of directors is on this. We have been on repairing the building. We're working diligently on repairing the building and getting the residents back into their home as soon as possible.
So as the attorney representing these homeowners, you are, and I'm hoping you're still there because I think we lost your picture. Can you still hear us? We lost Mariel, regretfully, because there are a lot of questions left. We're going to try to reconnect, and in the meantime, we're going to take a quick break. Stay with us.
All right, we'll get back to Michael and Glenna here in just a moment. I want to give you an update on Tropical Storm Elsa. This is as of the 11 a.m. advisory. The next advisory that will be issued will be at 2 o'clock, where they're not expected to do anything to the track. It would just be updating the intensity. The winds have come down as of 11 a.m. Maximum sustained winds at 60 miles per hour. Center of the storm is on the north side of Jamaica. It did get very close to coming on shore, but stayed just off to the north. Still some thunderstorms wrapping around it, but it does look a little disorganized. In fact, partially is because it is moving so close to Jamaica. And look at the mountains here. We're talking about the mountain tops, the peaks, more than 7,000 feet tall, Blue Mountain there. So no surprise that it's struggling a little bit interacting with Jamaica, but it will start to pull away throughout the day today. And this is what I'm watching. Yesterday, we talked about if it went over the entire length of Cuba, we'd be talking about a much weaker storm. But now that it has some time to move over this warm water away from land until it reaches Cuba, we could see some slight strengthening, and that's why the Hurricane Center has bumped this forecast up to around 70 miles per hour as it moves onshore of Cuba very early tomorrow. Later in the day tomorrow, moving offshore Cuba into the Florida Straits, somewhere in the vicinity of the lower Keys as a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm. If it does start to strengthen in the eastern Gulf, it's probably going to be as it's approaching Tampa. We could see some slight strengthening, but as of right now, they're keeping it as a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm. We did see some changes to the watches and warnings. They've changed that tropical storm watch that was in effect from Marathon, Key West to the Dry Tortugas to a tropical storm warning. That does not mean we're expecting anything worse. It's just as we get closer to the storm, that watch turns into a warning as we have higher confidence that we will get some tropical storm force winds in the lower Keys at times. Upper Keys, Isla Morada to Key Largo, where that watch is in place, it's because we're not expecting tropical storm force sustained winds. We'll just get those gusts in those rain bands at times, especially in the upper Keys where the rain could be pretty heavy. Watching out for isolated tornadoes and, of course, some water spouts, too. And a water rise about 1 to 2 feet, especially on the ocean side of things. So it's not too significant. I'm not too worried about it. Up in Broward and Miami-Dade, I'm not too worried about the storm here, too. It looks like we're just going to get some occasional rain bands moving in at times. Meanwhile, until we get to those first rain bands moving in tomorrow, 93 degrees is going to be very hot today. I think things will start to clear up as we get towards late Tuesday into Wednesday. We're kind of back to our normal weather pattern at that point, guys.
Brandon, thanks.
Brandon, thank you very much. We have reestablished contact with Mariel Tollinchi, who is the attorney for the Crestview Towers homeowners. Mariel, let me go back in the brief time we have left. You said that there is a new report that tells the city of North Miami Beach that this is a habitable building, that it can be lived in. When are you going to give the city that report, and when will the residents be able to get back in the building?
Okay. That report should be released. The architect is working on the report, so it should be provided to the city. We have until Tuesday noon to provide that report. So I believe that by Monday it should be prepared. That's out of my control, but that's as far as I know.
And real quickly, you're the attorney who is ably representing this association, but this building seems to be an example of what can happen now that this audit of older buildings is going on. What can the public expect when older buildings like this all of a sudden have these kind of things laid bare? What do you expect to happen? I'm sorry, your question got cut off a bit. You said that
Do you mind repeating your question?
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you, I'm going to tell you we have a minute left in this program.
Okay.
Are you concerned that these audits are going to uncover so many things like this that may leave people without homes, even temporarily?
They might. They might. To my knowledge, Crestview is not the first building to not have met the 40-year recertification period. So yes, hopefully, though, the other buildings have taken Crestview as an example and are working towards their recertification or getting also their architectural reports in place so that by the time the city audits them, the residents are not put out in the middle of the
Mariel
night.
Tollinchi, so good of you to join us, and we do
Thank you.
appreciate
It's a pleasure
your time
meeting you.
today. And we thank
Thank
you
you
for
so
being,
much.
And we thank you for being with us. Of course, stay tuned 24/7 to local10.com for everything about the storm and about the impending demolition in Surfside.
And remember, as always, stay informed, get involved. Have a happy 4th of July.